Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the Resource Recovery Education Officer at the Hillshire Council, and welcome to the So Easy video series brought to you by the Resource Recovery team.
Hi, I'm Bex from Second Life Upcycling, and I teach sewing classes, clothes upcycling, and sustainability workshops.
So the goal of this series is to support sustainable habits by giving you the skills and the confidence to fix and alter your own clothes instead of sending them to landfill. So let's get started.
So in this video, we're going to take in a pair of pants at the waist. So what have you got here?
So I have a pair of work pants here. They're the right lengths, but they're a little bit too big on the waist. So I'd like to bring them in a little bit so that I can wear them comfortably.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Michelle to try the pants on, and I'm actually going to adjust them on her body. You can do this off the body and adjust accordingly, but because Michelle's here, I'm going to do it on you. Okay, so Michelle's got the pants on. They're a beautiful pair of tailored work pants, but as we can see, they're quite roomy. So what happens there is you're just pulling them up all day. They just don't feel right. So we've only got to take off, I'm going to say 3 fingers of room here. So because these are beautifully tailored at the front and because we don't have to take too much away, I'm not going to mess around with the front here because I want to retain this tailoring. So if you can turn around. So I'm going to go in at the back here. And what you'll see just with this pair of pants is that there's a seam here or a dart here. I'm going to use that as my guide. So I'm going to follow that up on both sides. And because these are beautifully made, I'm going to assume, and I would be correct, is that this is in the middle. So we're going to follow that up, and that's not going to muck around with the integrity of this garment. If we had a lot of waistband here that we had to take in, we'd have to share the taking in of the waistband all the way around. So I'd probably do 2 at the back and 2 at the front. And the reason being, if you can just pop around to the front, say if I only took it in at the back and took a lot out of the waistband at the back, what it's in risk of doing is actually moving this side seam and this pocket line further towards the back, which is going to throw off the whole design of these tailored pants and how they're meant to sit. So if that were the case, if I had to share the taking in all the way around because I had to take in so much, what I would probably do, we've got some belt loops here. I would unpick each of these belt loops at the front, and then I would take in behind that and then just stitch those belt loops back in. So that would then disguise where I've taken it in. You can turn to the back. We don't have the belt. The belt loops are here at the side, at the back. I don't want to muck around with that. I'm going to follow this seam here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pinch it in, and with my chalk, tailor's chalk, I'm just going to sort of mark where those pinches are. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Does that feel comfortable? So then I'm just going to do the same on the other side. Now, if you were doing this yourself on your own garment, then what you would do is you would just guess where this was. So you would just take these or pin these, try them on, and adjust accordingly because you're not going to be able to pinch this and mark this at the back. It would be really difficult. So therefore, you would just sort of do a pinch, pin it, and then try it on and then adjust accordingly before you sew. And that's pretty much it. So I've got my 2 marks. And so now what I'm going to do is just that. I'm going to pin this and then get Michelle to try it on again just to make sure before I sew. I've got the pants off Michelle, and then I've actually marked here where that seam is on this side because I can't see it here because the pocket is covering it. And I need to know where that seam is because that's going to be that's my guide for where this dart is going to appear. So then I'm going to just measure those 2 marks that I made whilst the pants were on Michelle, and I can see it's 2 centimetres. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 2 centimetres either side of that. So 1 centimetre either side. So I've got 2 centimetres in here. And then from that bottom mark there, I'm going to just pinch it together. So those 2 marks join together to create a triangle. And then I'm going to pin them. And then I'm going to ask Michelle to try them on, because before I sew this, I need to make sure that I've taken in enough, or importantly, that I haven't taken in too much. So on the other side, I'm just marking 1 centimetre either side of that middle, pinching it together, and I'm going to pin it. So in theory, what you're doing is it's going to be a triangle with the smallest end of the triangle, so the apex of the triangle at the bottom, and then the widest bit of the triangle at the top of the waistband. So it's kind of looking like that. So what I'm going to do is just make sure that I'm lining up with those center seams, those seams at the back there, and I'm pretty okay. So I'm going to ask Michelle to try this on, and then if I need to adjust, I can make those adjustments before sewing on the sewing machine. So I'll be back. All right, so Michelle's tried them on and they fit perfectly, so no adjustments are necessary. So now I'm going to sew a triangle down here, starting wider at the top of the waistband and then coming down to the triangle like I explained. I'm going to start at the top where it's wider. Now, there's a lot of fabric here, so the sewing machine's going to have a little bit of a hard time with this because there's a lot of fabric that needs to be sewn, but that's just the nature of what we're doing. So again, just so that there's no load on the sewing machine and so it can handle it, I'm going to go quite slowly and help the sewing machine along if I need to by turning the wheel at the side. So also, I'm going to help guide the fabric through. I'm going to also, very importantly, backstitch here because that will stop the seam breaking at the top of the waist, because this is going to take quite a lot of wear and tear, so we need to do it really strong and make sure it's very secure. So I've backstitched. Now I'm just going to come down to the point and then backstitch at the end as well, importantly. So it's going to struggle a little bit at the end because we've got a little bit of fabric, so I need to help and guide it through. I've reached the end. I'm going to backstitch, and then I'm going to go forward and then just sew off like that. And then I'm just going to cut this. Now, I'm not going to cut off this triangle. I'm going to leave that on there because if Michelle decides that she wants to return these back to their original waistband, all she has to do is unpick that, and then she's got that original waistband back. So I'm not going to cut this. It'll just tuck in and she won't even know it's there. So that's one side done. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew the other side. So Michelle's put the pants on. I finished sewing that the darts in that waistband. So you'll see here, it's really, you can't even tell that you can if you look up close, but it hasn't changed the structure of these pants. Just by taking in that dart, now the waistband is nice and the correct tightness, but simple process of just adding in those darts, but it hasn't changed the look or the tailoring of these pants. Thanks for watching. We hope that this video has inspired you to revisit your wardrobe and give your garments a second life.
If you want to find out more about what Counsellor's doing in regards to textiles and clothing, check out Counsellor's website or the link below.
And wasn't that so easy?